In 2025, the Daggerfall modding scene is in an absolutely incredible place. The variety of high-quality mods honestly surprised me when I first started getting into the Unity version of the game, and I deeply appreciate all the long hours modders put in to make Daggerfall an even greater game. It feels like every other week there's a new mod or two that I'm impressed with that I add to my list of future mod showcase videos. However, there are some ideas I'd love to see added to Daggerfall which I can't seem to find any current mods that quite capture it in the way that I'd like to see it. I do want to preface this with reminding everyone that I'm not a Daggerfall modder and my modding knowledge is essentially non-existent, so when I talk about what I would like to see, it's completely just for the fun of the discussion and has nothing to do with what's actually realistic. But before we get into it, if you enjoy content like this, please do consider subscribing to the channel or becoming a channel member through the link in the video description below. Alright, let's talk about some mod ideas. One thing that's sorely missing in Daggerfall is a proper dual-wielding combat style. The way it works in Daggerfall is that you technically can put a weapon in each hand, as you can see on my character here. I have a mace in each hand, but you can't see them represented in first person as being held in both hands. On my character here, only one weapon is displayed, and there's no way for me to strike with them together or even alternate between the two easily. I'd love to see a mod try and implement a satisfying dual-wielding option. I think there's a couple ways that we could go about conceptualizing it. One way I'd be happy with is sort of a simpler compromise that would allow both weapons to be seen in each hand during the first-person view, which to me I feel like is necessary to really capture the vibe correctly, but to then have each strike alternate between the two hands. To make things more interesting, I think there should be some trade-offs, some way to make this style of combat feel functionally different from others. For example, maybe while dual-wielding your attack speed can be increased, but you take a slightly negative damage modifier for each hit. This would create more flavor and a greater difference between dual-wielding and attacking with a single weapon in the main hand. It would also allow for each of the now 3 different attack styles to all have their own advantages and disadvantages. Dual-wielding gets the fastest attack speed at a slight damage reduction, main hand and a shield provides the most defense, and wielding a two-handed weapon would then be the highest damage potential for a single strike. Of course, there's other potential styles that can exist, like a duelist concept where you have a one-hander in the main hand and nothing in the offhand, but that would be outside the scope of this mod. It would be a lot of fun equipping 2 different kinds of weapons or 2 of the same weapon but with a different material. If we were forced to always alternate the next attack with the other arm, then we'd have a pretty functional and in my opinion balanced option. Of course, you wouldn't be able to also wear a shield or swap weapons, so dual wielding would definitely have those built-in weaknesses, but most importantly, it would be a lot of fun and would really be a great fit for some new builds that would function differently from what we already have available to us today. I really enjoy the tavern and inn atmosphere in Daggerfall. It's cozy and is a great space to unwind in after a long journey or a tough quest. But unfortunately, taverns don't provide much interactive gameplay options. The only thing I can currently do in a tavern with my mod list is rent a room, talk to NPCs, or sit in any of the chairs. Imagine how much more alive and fun it would be to hang out in taverns if the player had access to tavern games. I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with a game called Neverwinter Nights, but it's a CRPG that has a sort of module creator where players can make their own campaigns. In one of the modules I played, there was a text-based minigame in the tavern, and I couldn't help but wonder why more games don't do this. I understand why building an entire minigame that isn't really relevant to the main game experience might be something that developers feel doesn't fit their vision for a title, but a text-based minigame could still be a lot of fun and wouldn't require any of that. You would simply convey all of the relevant information to the player through text. Some of the tavern designs in Daggerfall are really just so warm and nice to spend time in, and the tavern music, like most of Daggerfall's music, is great to listen to. So I want a reason to spend more time in these places. I want to be able to get a drink with that guy over there, or sit down and play a card game with this gentleman over here, or join this group over here for some riddles and word games. In the Neverwinter Nights example that I mentioned earlier, it worked something like this, and forgive my terrible criti skills, but we'll play an example game. Basically, the creator of the custom campaign made up a fake in-universe name for a real-world card game that we play. I'll call the Daggerfall version in this example of Blackjack, Khajiits vs. Argonians. And you'd be given all the information through text. It could look something like this. Start the conversation and be offered to play a game. Then, as the game plays out, you're given all of the relevant information purely through text. So, here's an example of the first round. You're dealt your cards, told all the information that is revealed, and reminded which information is hidden to you. We could add a little conversation banter every round to add to the friendly competition atmosphere. Here I get a 7 and a 10. I can see my opponent received a 5 and their other card is hidden from me. And then each round of the game could continue playing out in this way. We could also have wagers added in conversations before starting the game, or an option to play for fun depending on the person you're playing with and if they want to gamble with you or not. Of course, this could extend to all sorts of different real-world card games or even word games or riddles that we have. Or modders could create their own games and riddles for players to enjoy. There is a ton of potential with text-based games, and Daggerfall's taverns are the perfect spot to enjoy them in. Yes, I know fishing in an open world RPG is extremely overplayed. I feel like so many games think they have to add it. But there is good reason for why fishing fits open world design so well. Because it's one of the few activities that keeps the player stationary and allows them to slow down a bit, enjoy the scenery, and take a break from the action. For that reason, I think it's a really great fit for Daggerfall specifically. I love enjoying Daggerfall's wilderness and massive world, and I want to be able to have an activity I can do that encourages me to slow down. Slow down and watch the changing of the time of day as the sun sets or rises, and of course the absolutely beautiful nighttime wilderness musical themes. It also would be a great activity for players to be able to do on their ships, which is another space that I want more reason to hang out in and enjoy. Fishing could be kept simple. Grab some bait with no minigame at all, just wait and you either succeed or fail, which could be based on some skill or maybe some attributes. And then either sell what you catch to merchants or innkeepers, or maybe they could be cooked for food or simply used as a consumable of some sort. Perhaps even allowing the player to donate food to certain temples could be a good fit as well. Fishing could easily be incorporated into a lot of different Daggerfall systems and would also be a nice fit for some mods like Climate and Calories, which is a sort of survival style mod. Being able to cook fish to eat would be a nice addition to it. And actually, there is currently a mod that I use sometimes that captures the feeling of what fishing could provide, and it's called Kites. And it does exactly what it sounds like. It adds a bunch of kites with different designs that you can fly and walk around with. It's really super simple, but it provides exactly what I'm talking about with the fishing mod. A way for the player to slow down and enjoy the world of Daggerfall. But overall, I do think fishing would better capture that vibe for me personally. That being said, the concept really could extend to any leisure activity, and I would take really any mod that captures that feeling rather than focusing on exactly what the activity is. So, if anyone knows of a mod that you think is a good fit for what I'm talking about, please let me know, I'd love to try it out. And that's 3 mod ideas that I'd love to see added to Daggerfall. There's a lot of other concepts that I considered, like becoming a craftsman of some sort, or somehow being a lord of a region, but they felt a bit too far-fetched, even though I'd love to see ideas like that someday. Let me know in the comments what kind of mods would be interesting to you. There's a good chance I'd be interested as well. I hope you enjoyed this one, and I hope I'll see you in the next video. Take care.